Ready, Greg?
Ready, Jay.
You're listening to The Success Paradigm with your hosts, Jay Atkins and Greg Gray.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone all over the world. So we are excited to have you here with us again on the Success Paradigm. And we are super excited to have our guest today, Mr. Ray Urdaneta, CEO of MONAT Global. We'll tell you, Ray, that there are people that knew you were going to be on, and there's extra people on because they knew you were going to be on today. So let me give you an introduction that you are due. So Ray is a second-generation direct sales entrepreneur. He followed his parents' example of combining strong family values with the fervent belief that anyone can achieve their dreams through hard work and determination. With a degree in international business, Ray co-founded ALCORA Group and now guides MONAT's success as CEO. As co-founder and CEO of MONAT Global, Ray has led MONAT from humble beginnings in a small Miami, Florida warehouse to a multi-million-dollar global beauty brand in just a few short years. A native of Venezuela, Ray immigrated to the United States with his wife Carolina in 2000 with only $800 in his pocket. Following stints as Sears as a door-to-door salesman, Ray founded the Alcora Corporation, which would later become the parent company of his most successful venture to date, MONAT, which established in 2014. With Ray at the helm, MONAT has grown into a global beauty brand with hundreds of millions in annual revenue, more than 400 corporate employees, and an independent sales force known as market partners of, get this, over 200,000 individuals. The company has also revolutionized the direct selling model, introducing the social selling model that brings the direct sales model of yesteryear into the 21st century. During his tenure, MONAT has accomplished a number of key strategic initiatives, including the launch of MONAT Gratitude, the company's philanthropic initiative focused on impacting families, children, and education, and encouraging market partners to do the same in their communities. Ray has received a number of awards and recognition, including a Gold Stevie Award for Entrepreneur of the Year in 2019, and a spot on South Florida Business Journal's list of power leaders for 2020. He earned a degree in international business from Florida International University. Welcome, Ray Urdaneta. Glad to have you with us, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for such an amazing introduction. I think it's one of the best introductions that I've heard. Thank you for that.
You're welcome, sir.
Well, you are on the Success Paradigm, so we got to talk about all that great success. So, absolutely. Ray, we like to start off the podcast with the reason we started this podcast, and that is people like you have, myself, my wife that is involved in MONAT, which is such a great company with such a great culture, with such great leadership. I get to talk about that all the time with her. And we see where you are now. We see what your glory is now. And I know you're not done. I listen to some of your calls. I listen to your dreams. I listen to your goals. I listen to your father's dreams and goals and where you want to take the company. But what we're interested on here is not just what the glory is, but we want to know and understand what the story is, because people that listen to this podcast want to understand the ingredients that it took for your success and what it might take for them to have success in their life. And I know, listening to your father, I don't know Spanish, so I listen to him through my wife's lens and when it's translated, but he is a very motivational, inspirational guy that you got to grow up with. And I know a guy like that is not easy to grow up with because his expectations are very, very high. And success is the only option with a man like that. So what I'd like to know is those hard knocks, those failures, that story that you raised up that made you such a great leader, such a great CEO to build such an amazing company that I admire. So tell us what that story is.
Yes, it's good. It's good that you mentioned my father, and it goes without you to know my mother. But I was lucky and fortunate enough to have grown with two entrepreneurs, right? So both my parents come from very, 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 very high poverty. I remember going to my grandma's house on my mother's side, being still a kid, 8, 9 years old. And it was a shack. It was like a very small house, no walls. I mean, not actual concrete walls. And I saw what poverty looked like. And I saw how by then working really hard. I mean, I'm talking really hard. Being a field representative from another direct sales company back in Venezuela, how they were able to take me and my family out of poverty into middle class. So I didn't grow up in being rich or with a lot of wealth, but I was fortunate enough to start growing into low middle class, and I did that by working every day really hard. So I kind of coming from a family of entrepreneurship, I think set that mindset for me, and that's what I always say that I don't know if I could be who I am if I wouldn't have that I wouldn't be had that lucky of growing with both parents having that mindset. And for some reason, I don't know why, by the age I was 14, I was telling my mother back then had a beauty salon, and I was 14 years old. I said, can I go work with you? I'll be the cashier, right? And I was super sleepy coming after school, doing that. And something was inside me that always wanted to do something. By the age I was 16, I was already also trying to sell stuff. I met Carolina, my wife, when we were 17. At 17, started doing Tupperware parties. She and I started doing Tupperware parties. And you know the Tupperware parties, you have to go do the demonstration. And then we're a pair of kids, right? And we started making some good money. And we back in Venezuela, we started buying designer perfumes. And my dad had retired from direct sales, had a restaurant. I go into the restaurant and set up a table with the perfumes, and I think people thought I was cute. So selling those perfumes at 17, and they would buy from me. And I would make 70, 80% margins, right? So doing all that, by the age I was 18, I opened a store at a mall. It was like the new mall back then, back in where I'm from, in Maracaibo, Venezuela. And it was a small store. I started traveling to Miami to buy a Nike accessories, Nike clothes, and Adidas. It was Nike and Adidas. I had the two cool brands back then. It was 97 or something like that. And going back and forward, selling these products, I learned a lot. I learned how to open a business, how to do accounting, how to handle vendors. I had my local vendors too. In one of those trips, going back and forward, I was coming to Miami and had always had a dream, right, to live here in the United States since I was a kid. I was also going to law school. And my mom and my dad, they both had the fear that because I was always doing business and making my own money, that I was going to drop out of school. But I always liked to study. So I was a very good student, and I was going to law school. But in one of those trips, I remember I told my mother, I said, listen, I'm going to move to the US. She said, you're crazy. I mean, you're doing great at school. You even have your own business. I don't know. I know there is something more out there that I really want to do. And Carolina and I, when I get married, when I travel and when I move up there, and she's like, you're crazy. Even my dad told me, you're out of your mind. I mean, you're going to go to Miami by yourself. And we were the very first people in my whole family. Like now, most of my family have immigrated here. But we were the first two people in both our families to move into the United States. And I think one of the reasons we did it is because we were naive. And but sometimes I'm going to talk about that. Sometimes I think that being naive is not bad. Because where you're naive, you don't overthink stuff. The problem when you grow up is that now you start overthinking, right? And now you might start thinking about all the bad stuff that could happen. When you're young, it's like you don't have anything to lose. No, I'm going to go there. And I thought it was going to be easier, to be honest. So I moved down here. We were doing Tupperware parties. So Carolina and I were doing these parties, and we got the money for the airplane tickets. We got the money for her visa. So we got married, just went to the courthouse, got married, got her visa. I had visa, so we were able to get her visa. And moving here, she didn't speak English. I thought I didn't spoke English. I didn't actually speak very well English or very good English. But I know I was secure of myself. I said, I'm going to find a good job. And I was able to find a job at Sears in the hardware department. I'm not a handyman by any mean, but I think the manager liked me, so gave me the opportunity to work part-time during the holidays. And then eventually I was assistant manager because I try hard to do it right. And Carolina was working at McDonald's because she didn't speak English. She had to work in the kitchen, right? She was crying the first time she got a check for $180 after a whole week. This is back in 2000. Minimum wage was like what, 5.60 or something here. But you know what? We were always happy that we were here. We were always grateful that we were able to be here because it was our dream. And we started like that. What else did I do? I went to work at a credit card, telemarketing company, selling credit cards. So I would call, I was one of those annoying people calling you in dinner time, offering you a credit card. Did that, got tired of people yelling at me. So I told Carolina, listen, I think my brain is gonna burn. It's gonna fry here, doing the same thing all day. So and she said, okay, no problem, I'll stay. She was working there by that time downstairs. She could make less money because she could only do the call in Spanish, but she was working up there, and she said, I'll keep the steady job, and you go out there and do something different. So once again, I remember I would go downtown, get wholesale perfumes, designer perfume, sunglasses. Would go pick up tourists that would come from Latin America and told them, listen, I kind of open a bed and breakfast. So, through recommendations, I could get people that say, okay, I'll charge you, I think it was like $80 a day, and I'll drive you around the city. You can stay at my apartment. We'll give you a breakfast. And it was a good business, but it was better than working for minimum wage. And just like that, starting knowing the city, learning the language, to speak the English better. And then my dad called me one day, and he said, he had gone bankrupt. He retired from direct sales, went into other ventures, did very, very bad. So he said he went to work for another direct sales company back in '99 as a regional sales manager, did very well. He's a very good leader with people. So he called me and said, listen, I want to open a direct sales company. You want in? I said, yeah, I want in. Let's give it a try. We found some investors, our relatives, that invested with us $80,000 to open the company. I came up with the line of products, and I came up with all the marketing strategies and all that. My dad would come up with leaders and build leaders in the office back in Venezuela. We started the company like that. I developed this line of products. I was like 20 years old. I didn't know too much of what I was doing. Developed this body line of products with a private label company called BNR Products. This is a factory that had been a lab that had been in business since 1977. We ended up acquiring them 13 years later because they grew so much with us. We were able to build a $200 million company in about 8-9 years with that small investment. Never got extra investors, never had to get extra debt. Always been very efficient in trying to get better. But at the beginning, it's so many mistakes. And Dad and I were just talking about this yesterday. I remember when we were shipping those products, and I shipped the first container product, which I loaded by myself, and most of the labels of the products were all wrinkled. And it wasn't very good of products. And but we're proud of it, and we went for it. And I think one of the things that have always helped us, and I think it's a great message I always tell my field and people that want to do business: don't look for perfection, because if you look for perfection, you're never gonna get anything done. You're never gonna even start. And I think that's one of the things that Dad and I have, and he has always supported me, and we have mutual support. Is like, let's get it done. Worst case scenario, if we fail, we'll try it again. But the worst thing that many people can do is they expect for all the stars to align before doing something. And I have friends that want to do not only MONAT, but any other kind of businesses in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and I tell them, so tell me, you have this plan, you have your dream, and you kind of started, but you are not executing. Oh, I'm waiting for this to happen. I'm waiting for these other things to happen. I'm waiting to have followers now with social media. And I'm waiting to have this. Like, if you wait for everything to be perfect, believe me, you're never going to do it. And true enough, when we acquired BNR back in 2013, BNR Products, pretty much we became their main customers. So when we had to shut down that business in Venezuela because of the economic and political situation down there, was a very, 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 was very, very hard for us. I think maybe the biggest challenge that we've had, or I've had myself in my life, is when we had to shut down our business in Venezuela. Remember, it's $200 million company. We were in other countries in Latin America, but because the lion's share of the business was there, thousands of people were depending on us. We had 500 employees, and we had to shut down. We tried for 2 years not to, but at the end, it was like, if we wouldn't shut down, the government was going to take it on. So it was a very hard decision for us. But at the same time, we said, okay, what else can we do? Okay, how can we reinvent ourselves once again? And at that time, we acquired BNR Products. And remember, we had the opportunity acquire BNR because they weren't very fiscal responsible, if you could say. And we have always been very fiscal responsible. We have always said when times are good, put money aside. When times are good, be careful because times are not always going to be good. So that allows us to say, you know what, we're actually shutting down our main market, but because we are very, very well capitalized, we're going to be able to acquire BNR products. Actually, we acquired their debt. And I'll be able to acquire the labs. I mean, because they do amazing products. We had an amazing R&D team there. We actually didn't want to lose them either because we wanted it for our future businesses. And I remember acquiring BNR, and at that point, that said, so are you up to this? Because I mean, that said, it would be up to you. You have to be the CEO, the president. You have to like, I don't know too much about manufacturing, to be honest. I don't know about machinery. I know about marketing. I kind of now have learned about how to do products and all that. But and I remember I went there and I said, well, Dad, you know what? I'll try. And what I did was that. Give me a second. I'm at home. Sorry, I have so much noise in the background. Sorry about that. Working from home. So I've been working from home for 3 months.
We understand.
Yeah, I have 3 kids and 2 nephews. So and they're always here.
I work from home every day, and I come to my office once a week for this podcast. So we completely understand.
Yes.
So anyway, going back to the story of BNR, I remember that knocking my office. Said, so are you up to this? And I said, I'll do it. I remember going into the factory the first time. I said, I have no idea what I'm going to do. I don't know, but I know business. I know efficiencies. I know how to organize people. I know how to lead people. So I just grabbed the people there, got in the boardroom and said, okay, it's up to you guys, but I'm here to help you. And there was a lot of things to be organized. But my point with that is that when we started our first business in Venezuela, I didn't know what I was doing. I just wanted to do it, right? And I learned. Then I started BNR. I started to lead BNR. I didn't know what I was doing. I just went for it, right? And same thing with MONAT. When we decided to open MONAT, it was because we needed to reinvent ourselves. We needed to evolve, and it was hard. I mean, we had to start from zero again. And I went to conferences because we had never done the business here. I had been living here from 2000. Dad had moved here. I think he moved here around 2009. But we had never done actually the business here. We didn't have leaders. We didn't know anybody to do the business. And we said, even though we're Hispanic, when I go into the mainstream market in the USA, I started learning. I started going to conferences, and that's with the internet. Like I could start analyzing competition, like other companies that are doing well. What is that they do? How is their structure? Because I wanted to build this company that was a network marketing company, but that wasn't the same companies from the 90s. Actually, I was anti-multi-level because direct sales and multi-level are not the same. We were kind of anti-multi-level because multi-level is kind of a bad word. Right? A lot of companies hasn't been very ethical. So what I found is that there was a way to do a company for the 21st century, like using social selling. I mean, everybody's sharing through social media. So I mean, using social media, creating a sophisticated brand, creating an amazing product. So I started looking, there were 2-3 companies that were doing that. I said, I think we could do this approach, we can be different. But once again, I didn't know anything about multi-level. I knew direct sales, they had super similar principles. It's about leadership, it's about people. And I didn't know too much about direct sales. I didn't know too much about compensation plans. I hired a designer for the compensation plan to help me design the compensation plan. He had to taught me first what compensation plans were about. That even with all these limitations, we went for it, right? I remember we went to pre-launch July 15, 2014. In June, I went to a direct sales conference because I was went to conference to learn. And one of the VPs of that organization said to me, so tell me, who are your main leaders? You're pre-launching next. I don't have anybody. It's like, what? You don't have anybody? I don't have anybody. I don't know. Let's see. And what we did is that we did a pre-launch on Facebook, believe it or not, just Facebook. Did a pay-per-click campaign, created a landing page, put our story, my family story out there, what having our success, and the concept of the company, which was being the first hair care company in the network marketing industry. If you think about in network marketing, social selling, direct sales, all those industries, it's a $30 billion industry in the United States, $130 billion in the world, and nobody was focusing on hair care. So a lot of people told me, of course, it was a bad idea, right? Like, don't do that. If nobody's doing it, it's because it's a bad idea. I didn't believe so. I thought that, you know what? I analyzed the market. I think hair care is taking off. Premium hair care, people is willing to pay extra for good products. I believe that we could create it, something focused on anti-aging for the hair. Nobody was talking back then. Like you see now companies talking about anti-aging for the hair. Nobody was talking about anti-aging for the hair back then. And we took the chance. So you have to take chances, right? I didn't want it to be a Me Too company. I didn't want it to be just another drug sales company. I wanted to be different. So once again, we went for it without knowing too much about the market, without knowing too much about compensation plans. We launched officially October 1st. We had 500 distributors. Through social media, we found 500 distributors that believe in us, even before we launched. We launched in October 1st. And I was telling this also the other day. It was January. We already had something like 2,000 distributors. I mean, we're doing super well. And I didn't know the compensation. I mean, I helped design the compensation plan. I started getting questions about certain things about the compensation plan. I didn't know. I will have to say, okay, let's wait. I have to go back to the drawing tables. So what happens if this happens? So how will we respond to this? But I'm telling you all this story because throughout my 20 years doing business, even before that, since I was 16 years old, I didn't actually know what I was doing, but I always went for it. And to the day, we still try things in which we are not completely informed about how to do it. And I think the biggest issue that many people that want to do business have is, oh, I don't know how to do this, so I'm not going to do it. You know what? Just try it. Don't overthink it. That's why I was saying that being naive sometimes is good, because when you're naive, you don't overthink stuff. When you overthink, you will find hundreds of reasons why not to do it. Always. So I always tell people, don't overthink it. I mean, if it's something that you feel passionate about, if you're willing to work hard, if you're willing to learn, do your research, don't wait for perfection to make it happen.
So, Ray, I'm just listening to, I was trying to keep up with how many different things you've tried since you were 16, and I lost track somewhere in there. It's everything from hardware to Tupperware, telemarketing, designer fragrances, working as a cashier. So clearly you don't have a problem trying new things, but I'm thinking it has to be something more than just trying new things, but there actually has to be some drive in you. Because it sounds like every time you kind of got something figured out, you knew that I need to be challenging myself more. There has to be more. You said that a couple of times. So where did 14, 15, 16-year-old Ray, where did that come from? I know you, in the introduction, we talked about your family values and kind of the entrepreneurial environment, but I know kids that are in entrepreneurial environments that sometimes kind of go opposite of their parents, so they don't do that. So what was going on with 13, 14, 15-year-old Ray that is still there now? Where did that come from?
Well, you know what? I don't know. I think I've always liked independence. That's for sure.
Okay.
And so I knew I needed to do stuff for myself. There's something that I have. I mean, I want to be. I don't like to talk too much about myself, but if I can say that I like accomplishments, I like to accomplish stuff. I like to have a goal and finish it, and I like to do stuff and to do it right. I always say that the best days I have are productive days. If I have a day in which I accomplish a lot, that I know, I mean, I'm not telling a day that I was busy. It's different, right? It's different to be busy than to be productive. So if I have a day that I know I was super productive, though I go to bed so fulfilled, that's amazing. And everything I do, I always say it's the same principles for work, for marriage, for relationships, even if you want to exercise. I mean, everything I do, I have to feel that I accomplished something. I need to feel that if I look back, the Ray at 16, or even the Ray 5 years ago, that I said, okay, oh, that sucked. I mean, I wasn't that good at this. Look how much I have improved. Or look the product I created 5 years ago. It had so many mistakes. Or how could I do that? You know what? This is good because it means that I'm a better person now. And I want to think that in 5 years, when I look back at the Ray today, I just want to go back and say, oh man, I needed to do so many improvements on this. So I like to improve all the time. I cannot be in status quo. I cannot believe people, and this is something that I don't understand, but it's hard mindset, right? That some people have to change. I cannot believe people that 3 years, 5 years goes by, and they're the same people. They're the same person, the same professional, the same human being. It's like, I mean, it's been 5 years. Why do I have? I know I have people that have worked with me for 15 years. I have relationships for 15 years, and simple stuff like I go back. I have these guys that work with me, and I love them to death. Great workers, but I go to them, and it's like, is that the same spreadsheet that you and I used to handle when you were super small? I mean, you haven't improved the format, just change the color, do something. So I always like to improve, and that, I think that's important. Joe Maxwell, I admire Joe Maxwell. I was talking to him. We have a relationship with him the other day, and he says that he needed to. And I felt so identified with that he needed to do some editions for a book that he wrote 20 years ago. And he said, I went to the book. I thought it was so bad, and this is a bestseller. It was so bad that I had to redo it completely. And that's me. I see my catalog. I see my marketing materials from 10 years ago. It's like, oh man, this was so bad. The other thing that you need, and I've somehow always have had, is a why, right? Everybody needs to have a why. Everybody have to have an inspiration. And like back then, when I was super young, I've always said that my inspiration was my wife. So I met my wife. We were dating, and if I was low middle class, she was poor. So when I met her, she didn't have a color TV. It was a black and white TV. She didn't have air conditioner, but just a fan. And it's like, oh, man, I need to help you. So the way to help her was, let's work together, because I wanted her to have a better life, right? I wanted to have even a window air conditioner and just a TV. And that's what the first two things we bought when we made some money selling stuff and doing top of our parties back then. Right now, my inspiration, of course, are my kids, my family. And now it has become, the nice thing now is it has become even bigger than that, because now we have tens of thousands of people who are depending to us. So it's like a responsibility I have now. We cannot fail, because failing is not us that are going to be affected. Failing could mean tens of thousands of people have trust us, they're depending on us. I remember when I started MONAT in 2014, 2015, 2016, people started quitting their jobs and saying, because most people that do MONAT, they do part-times. 90%, 85% of the people, they do this part-time for an extra, a couple of $100, $300, $400. Very few go to leadership ranks and start making 5, 6 figures to sustain their family. But there was a point back in 2015 that some people, like the first 3-4 people, started quitting their jobs. And saying, I'm going to do it full time. I remember Stuart, the president of the company, knocking my door and said, oh, do you see this and that quit their job? It's like, oh, this is serious now. I mean, we cannot fail. It's not. So you have to find a why, an inspiration to keep moving. So for me, it's like, I need to feel that I'm improving myself in every aspect of my life. And I need to have a why to keep going all the time. That why should not be the money. We all work for money, right? We all want to have a good life. But I was talking also with Carolina the other day about this. I like money, but money is not my driver. And even my dad told me that the other day. He said, what I like about you, Ray, is that you're not driven by money. And I think when people is driven by money, first of all, they don't focus on the right things. I mean, you need to focus on people. You need to know that you need people. You cannot do it by yourself. There is no way you're going to do it by yourself. You need people around you. And for that, you need to believe in people. People need to believe in you. You have to be authentic. You have to care. And if you're thinking about making money, you're not going to care the same. And number two, if you're really anxious about money, you are, if you really like desperate to make money in the short term, you're going to get anxious. You're going to get anxiety, and you're not going to take the right decisions. So I think that's the other aspect that help us, that we enjoy money, we enjoy the good life, of course, what we all do, but money comes after. If you do the right things, if you focus on the right things, if you focus on people, if you focus on improving yourself and all the accomplishments, and that's how for 20 years, I'll tell you what, and this is good for those that are entrepreneurs. 20 years, I can say that maybe 5 of the 20 years, we've made money. The other 15, we have even gone break even or lost money. Now the 5 years have been good, the other 15 not. But imagine if you get so frustrated that 1, 2, 3, 4 years go, and you start getting anxiety because you're not making money, and you start losing focus. because yes, I've tried many things, but once I decided that UX is my career and that this is the kind of business that we love, we only focus on this. So if you really focus on something and you feel passion for that, you're gonna go every day. Every day you're gonna wake up and you're gonna try and you're gonna push and you're gonna push. Then before you know, it's been 5 years. The other day I was talking also to my partners and said, listen, it's been 4 years, we made no money. I cannot believe it. Like, I had not realized that we hadn't made money in years. But you know what? We did it. We do it because we love what we're doing. We keep going every day. So that's important too. It's important to have a why. It's important to have that sense of accomplishment. It's important you don't focus on money because then you'll get anxious. And what will happen is that now I'm gonna jump from one business to the next. Now I'll stop doing this and I'm gonna jump to the next thing and the next shiny thing, and instead of just focusing on one thing. It's like I was telling also earlier today, it's like marriage. You have to work on your marriage, and you just don't quit when things get tough, right? And get to the next relationship. It's the same thing. Same thing is a company or an entrepreneurship adventure or even a job. You keep going on that if you like it. If you don't feel passionate about that, if you don't feel passionate about what you're doing, okay, look for something else. But if you have the passion, you should keep doing what you do.
So, Ray, I gotta say something before I forget. First of all, when we want to hear a story to the glory, that's the daggone story I want to hear right there. That's the best story I've heard of all these podcasts. Like, that's what I want to know. Like, you know, I know how great the company is. I get to be a part of it with my wife and listen to some of the calls. And I've always thought you were a great human being and a great individual. But after hearing your story, I want my wife to share this podcast with all of our team because I think everyone at MONAT needs to hear your story. I know a lot of people haven't heard your story at MONAT because I think it would give them a lot more drive and understand where you're coming from and what you talk about, and they're going to listen because, you know, just hearing the story about your wife working at McDonald's, your wife working as a telemarketer, you know, and you going out on the street and selling perfume, like, people don't see that, man. And they need to know that about you and know how much greatness you have inside of you. You already have an amazing culture at MONAT. I mean, it's what I tell people all the time. I've worked with a lot of Fortune 100 companies, and I've never seen a culture like yours before. And it's because of everything that you just spoke of. And I hope you guys listen to everything that he said because, you know, that's all real. He leads this company. I get to see it firsthand through my wife's eyes. And that's the story that you need to be sharing with everyone. And I'm so glad. I was so excited about this podcast because I wanted to hear your story because I've seen you on stage. I see you on calls with my wife that she shares with me, but I didn't know that side of you. And the respect I have for you, Ray, is just, it's at a very, very, very high level, man. And I appreciate you actually sharing the entire story with us. And you need to share that. You need to do some kind of video and put it out on MONAT, and they need to know who Ray Urdaneta is, because I think they have no idea who they're working for. So
thank you.
My next question is, I know that your father is your biggest mentor. I know that he is someone that you admire and look up to. What is the best thing that your father has taught you? The number one thing.
Yeah, I'll tell you what it is. Well, there are two things that I've learned that are big, right? Number one, have no fear. And if it is one thing that I've learned from my father, is have no fear. And I've seen him in action, like on that. And I'll tell you a specific story that for me, I live it. It was impressive. When we had to shut down Venezuela, I'm still young, right? I'm 39, so I have to shut down Venezuela 8 years ago. I was 31, and but Dad was 51, right? And we shut down Venezuela and had to go for the next thing. And I said, Dad, I think we have to do this. This is the company I want to design. And of course, he would ask me, how could you do it? How much money you have to invest? And we invested, so I'm not telling you the capital that we have, but we invested about 20% of the capital that he had built during his life, right? Now, for me, it was, okay, I'll risk it because I'm young, right? But for him to risk it at 51, he said, yeah, let's go for it. But with risking it without asking that many questions. he says that it's because he trusts me, and I appreciate that. But still, we acquired BNR products, which is the manufacturing plant I was telling you about, and we were losing so much money every month because it took time to. I mean, MONAT wasn't still MONAT, and we had to start, like I said, from zero. I remember we started MONAT. First month, we sold $180,000. And we're like, okay, we started good. Month one. And year one, we did very well. It was 70 million. But month one, month two, month three, I mean, we went from selling 20 million in the other company to 180,000. And I remember turning to my wife saying, this is gonna take a while to get to 20 million again. We have to keep going. So BNR was a manufacturer. I remember I would go to BNR, and one of the strategies that we had to survive was turn off the lights so the electricity bill wasn't that expensive because we didn't have anything to do. It was only one production line going on. And I remember we looked at the financials. It was like 6 months, 8 months, almost a year, losing a lot of money. I remember I went to Dad and said, Dad, I think we have to give up on this. We're bleeding money. And it's like, no, something good is going to happen. You'll see. Just keep doing what you are doing, and you'll figure it out. I know you, and we'll be okay. I can remember coming back home. It's like, that is fearless. Like, his bank account is going down, 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 down. He's 51, and he's not saying, oh, I'm going to protect the money I have. He's saying, no, let's invest. And when we created MONAT, we didn't have investors, so we did it that big. But I mean, we did everything right. We had the right softwares, consultants, an amazing executive team. Of course, for the first few months and first year, we didn't make a lot of money. I have to scramble for cash flow. I have to sit every day with my my treasurer and say, okay, what are we going to do this week? Because we don't have the money to pay the vendors. And we have to pay commissions, and commissions involved with the first thing. Okay, so the money for commissions is first. What else can we do? And wasn't it was 2015, 16. So you have an idea. We have depleted 90% of our cash resources. So when we started MONAT between 2014 and 2017, we depleted 90%. We have like 10% left. That's it. And exactly that year, we grew 700%. It's amazing. That I talk about is like, can you believe that almost like we're done? Like we have no more cash. The company was doing well, but business, like company sales are good, but maybe the cash is not as good because you have to invest in new things, get a warehouse and all that. When we were about to deplete all the capital resources that we had, because we don't like to get debt with banks, we don't like outside investors, so we always have done everything ourselves. In that moment, we exploded. So the fact that was willing to say, yes, I'll invest the money with you, and I'll also invest my resources, even though he was over 50, and he had already gone bankrupt once. I mean, he went bankrupt when he was like 34, and I mean, he was okay. He invested in these other businesses. He went like completely, he didn't have money to eat in 99. That's when he had a job. When I moved here, when I moved here in 2000, was in very bad economic situation. He didn't have fear. And to the day, every time when I invest money, if I said that I have to invest $1 million in the new software, and he's like, okay. And he doesn't have fear to do stuff. And that's the number one thing I like about him. And the number two, which is equally important, think big. It's like, okay, we get here, we can do it bigger. And I know everybody says that, but we live it. Like we are this year, if God helps, we want to be a $1 billion company. If we're not a billion, we're going to be very close to be a $1 billion company. We're going to be maybe top 15 in the world in network marketing. I remember when we were striving to be top 100. We're going to be maybe in the top 15 in the world. And we have even expanded to Asia, which is the long-term plan. And we are already thinking, okay, it's 1 billion. Okay, now how can we get to 2? Like we haven't got it there. And he's already telling me, okay, so think about this, 2. What's the plan? So always thinking big. I mean, you shoot for the stars. I always tell people, shoot for the stars. What's the worst that could happen, right? So I think those two things, being fearless and literally always thinking big. If I tell him this month we're gonna have a revenue of 50 million, he'll say, okay, 60 it is. So, I'm not gonna tell you a number because you always want to increase the bar.
So Ray, it's I feel like you're channeling your dad right now, because I'm thinking these are the same things you're telling the people on your team too. So So it's passing from generation to generation. So one of the things that I'm hearing you say over and over again, especially as you went from one venture to the next venture, or even from one place inside, Monet to the next place, that you had that moment where you were like, I'm here, but I don't know what I'm doing right at this moment. Um, and within seconds, you talk about the team, the people that you bring on board, the treasure, all. So, because I know with a lot of entrepreneurs, and you kind of nailed it. One of the things, and it happened to me when I was an entrepreneur early on, was I figured, well, I didn't know how to do it, so I need to learn how to do everything. And then I was doing the things that were not the thing that I was best at. And even though I was okay at, I was my own accountant, for example, for a very long time because I could count. Um, but that's not what I did for a living. So, what would you say to people, or how would you, young entrepreneurs? Because a lot of times it's just I was afraid of paying somebody because if I paid an accountant, I would have less money in my pocket, and it was very short term thinking. So, what would you say, or how would you advise folks? Because you've been there a bunch of times. I've been listening to you, where you end up in a new. It's like every time you show up in a new port, you're like, okay, so I'm not sure what I'm doing here either, but we'll figure it out. And it's always about bringing people on board. Talk a little bit about that if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, there are different stages, right? If you're starting by yourself, and I mean, for a couple of years, when I started the first company, I was working literally from my room. Like, I had my desk next to my bed,
Mhm.
and that was my office, right? And then I move on to a bigger townhouse, and now I have a room with a small office. And then my wife, for a while, Carolina, helped me do the accounting, and step by step, right? One thing that actually helped me today to the business is that I have done it all. So now that I
Okay.
have a big company and a big executive team and different departments, I pretty much know a little bit about everything. So I always tell people it's good to understand. Like, you cannot be an entrepreneur if you only like marketing but you don't like accounting. You like sales but you don't like
Right.
this. I mean, you have
Right.
to know a little bit of everything,
Sure.
but you have to know what you're good at. You have to
Mhm.
know where is your area of most productivity. Uh, makes no sense for me. For example, we're talking earlier about a Mac computer. So Jay was asking, do you use a Mac? And the reason I do use a Mac is because I got a Mac once, and I didn't know how to use it. And I said, you know what? I don't have time for this. I don't have time for be learning how to use a Mac. And actually, it's not going to impact anything of what I do. It's not going to make me more productive. So forget about this.
Okay.
Accounting, right? Like I like accounting. I'm sorry, I don't like accounting. I know accounting,
That's
but of
different.
course, it doesn't make me productive to be in an Excel spreadsheet. I mean, doing spreadsheets. So,
Right.
so if I already have the resources, I absolutely will pay for somebody to do my accounting. But once again, it's depending on the stage of business that you are. But for
Okay.
example, Jay's wife, Jimena, she's super smart because since she started the business, I know she have assistants, and
Mm.
and she uses assistants because that she's productive talking to people, coaching people, motivating people, creating trainings. So if you have to decide what's the value of your hour, right?
Okay.
So how much is
Mm.
my time? So what is my time? So how much money do you make? So if your time $100 a day, say $200 an hour. I'm sorry, $100 an hour, $500 per hour. So if you're doing good, that you make $500 per hour in your business in your time. Of course, pay somebody $10 an hour to help you, right?
Right.
Do your reconciliation of accounts or calls or have an assistant at least.
Mhm.
So you definitely need people to once again to complement in the things that you're not good at. Like, I love marketing, I love branding, and I love anything that touches my field. That's the things I focus my time on. I still, of course, have to see financials. I still have to see taxes. I still have to see operations, distribution, and all that. But that's not where most of my time is, because I don't add that much value into that. So I
Mm.
let executive that now I can pay amazing people that I have surrounded with to handle those things. I will just oversee, get executive reports, but I still micromanage many of the things that I know I can add a lot of value at.
Okay.
So deciding what are the areas that you add value, because maybe if you are at 7 at something, you can become a 10, and now you're gonna add a lot of value. If you're at 2, yeah, it's good. You have to improve. You have to improve and be a maybe a 5, but that's not the area where you're going to excel.
Right.
And so focus on your strength and when is going to be a good return on investment. The other things, if you can somehow either don't pay attention to it because it won't make a difference. That's the other thing when doing business. If you're small, there are things that are nice to have in business, but are not going to make a huge difference.
Right.
There are so many things that people want to focus on. It's like, you know what? This is not going to make a big difference. I mean, it could be black or white. It's not going to make a difference. Now, we have limited time and resources. That's important. If you have limited time and resources, focus your time and your resources in the things that are going to create an impact. That's how, when we started MONAT, we started with a relatively low capital compared with other companies. I mean, most companies that are our size would start about 5-6 times the capital that we started with. But you know what we did? We said, okay, the focus is going to be, guess what? People. What focus is going to be, we need to create a lot of incentive trips. We need to create a lot of training events. We need to create this community. And you know, in 50% of our investment went into people the first year, because that's when we believed it was going to create a difference. I remember there was another company that was a startup, and I was talking to the founders of that company. I mean, they didn't do well, by the way. And we talked to them, and they could focus on the legal agreements and the operational this and the operational that. And I told them, listen, guys, this business is about people. Don't focus too much on the minutia, because that's not what this business is about. So I guess if you have a restaurant, you have to focus on making sure the food is good and it's on time and the service is good, and everything else, that's what you focus on. So I think great entrepreneurs, they focus on what matters, and that's important, because otherwise you're going to dilute your efforts in so many other things.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
So Ray, again, on the success paradigm, we talk about what the definition of success means to certain individuals, because you know, you're talking about building $1 billion brand, and some people listening to this want to make $100,000 a year, right? So your definition of success is different than my definition of success or Greg's definition of success. So we like to dig out of people what does success look like for you? Because some people it's $1 billion, some people it's spending time with family, some people it's having time freedom. So what does success look like for you, Ray?
It's a good question. There's something I strongly believe in. Actually, it's funny because I'm creating this. So I'm decorating my office. Last time I decorated my office, changed the colors of walls and all that was 15 years ago. And so we changed the color of the walls and all that. And I want to create, and you'll see it, I want to create a quote in one of the walls in my office. I was working in the quote just earlier today. And one of the things that I love to say, you know, like you always hear, oh, you cannot have it all, because you either have this or that. Like, if you want to put all the time in work, you're going to sacrifice family. If you want to do this, you have to have that. Oh, there's no way you have time for exercise, because I'm working too much, so I don't have time to take care of myself. Oh, I don't have time to eat well because I'm just in a rush all the time. Or the kids, you have to sacrifice the education of the quality of time of your kids. So I see now people snuggling their kids all day long, because that's why I don't want to miss them growing up. I feel, and I strongly believe, and people who knows me always ask me about this, you can have it all. For me, happiness is, success is happiness. You have to be happy. Once again, happiness is different for everybody, as you said. So I have to feel happy. Right? And for me to feel happy, I know to know that, of course, I'm being successful, but I have to know that I have a good marriage. I have to know that I have a good relationship with my kids, that I'm still enjoying them. I have to know that I have a good relationship with my parents, my siblings, that I don't have grudges with people, that I can go to bed and I don't feel anything bad about somebody. I can be upset sometimes, but I don't feel bad if I feel that I'm able to overcome it somehow. So for me, that's success. You have to be happy. But for me to be happy, I feel they have to be balanced. And to be balanced, you have to think and you have to try. You have to believe. You have to strongly believe that you can indeed have it all. That you can have an amazing job, and you can have a good health and look good, and you can have an amazing relationship alive with all your relatives and people that you love. And to have balance for me is you have to have sense of accomplishment. I talk about that. I have to have that. But I don't feel I could be happy if I'm doing this because I'm giving up on something else that I really want to do. But people always say, but that's too hard. There is no way. There is a way. There is a way. If you really are smart about this, what do you have to do? You have to make a plan. You have to make a plan in the long term and an everyday plan. Like I can tell you today, at what time I'm going to have lunch next Friday, literally. So I'm going to tell you today at what time I'm going to have a snack next Friday because I planned my week so good. And somebody was telling me the other day, there's no way. So that's no way to live. It's like, no, I mean, I'm not super rigid. I mean, I might one day say, cancel my morning because I'm going to do something else. But if you don't like to, if you have an organized life, you can have so many things. Listen, I'm CEO of 2 companies and I'm directly involved in both, in VNR Products and MONAT. I work really hard from 8 a.m. to, I don't know, I go to bed. Like I never disconnect. But I can still do the 2 companies. I exercise almost every day. I read about 30 minutes a day, most of the days, not every day, because my kids don't allow me every day to have quiet time to read. I dedicate time to my kids. That's the other thing. Whatever you do, don't. It's not about the length of time that you put; it's the quality of time. If you put in quality of time into your work time, you're gonna excel. You don't have to do every day 12 hours, 15 hours a day. Sometimes you have to. Sometimes you don't. But if you're gonna do it right. Like put that passion and intensity and focus on every minute in which you are dedicated to your job or to your adventure, your entrepreneurial adventure. If you're gonna spend time with your kids, spend time with your kids. It's not about I always say about kids, it's not about the quantity of time, it's about the quality of time. And my kids are super attached to me. But when I'm with them, I'm paying attention to them, I'm thinking about them, how can I don't want to miss out them growing up. But if I'm here, they know I'm working. Except today, they were screaming, but they know I'm working, and they don't come here, and they know. But they know that most probably later today, I will work out for 90 minutes, and I'll come back, and my little girl, she knows that's her time, and I will spend a couple of hours with her doing anything. I mean, I will go play with her, doing, and maybe before going to bed, I have to answer a few emails, because being an entrepreneur is about that flexibility. It's about not working less. You have to actually to work more, but you have the flexibility. So, but going back to what make me, what I think success looks like, you have to have a 360 success. I see people, and I see even people up there in politics or entrepreneurship that people follow. It's like, okay, yeah, this guy is rich, but he has a miserable life. I mean, look at his life. Looks like his relationship. Nobody likes him. So what's the point of being rich if nobody likes you, right? On the other side, I see people that they're super relaxed and they can have all this time in the world, and they maybe go on vacations more time than me, or maybe they spend more time with their kids more time than me, but they're not so successful in many other areas, and they're not creating an impact in the world. So what's the point of not having a balanced life? So you need to, and you can have kind of a balanced life. That's what happiness looks for me.
So what's the quote, Ray, you're going to write on your wall? I'm interested.
Yeah.
How are you going to narrow that?
Still working into it, and still working into it, but it's actually it's something like you can have it all. You can have it all in your personal in business life if you really work intensively into it. Something like that. I have it written somewhere. I'm still working into this, but it's actually you can have it all in personal life, in business life, if you really put all your passion into everything you do.
Well, it kind of sounds like a little like you're channeling your dad's voice too with that one, because that's thinking big. When you think big, you're not as frightened of that because you think big and then you do what you need to do to get there. So I have a question, a little bit of a tilted question here, and because you talked about, I was struck as Jay was about, when you tell someone, all these people that are listening and will see this podcast and will hear you say, yeah, but 20 years, we made money 5 years. That would probably horrify most people. Like, I don't know if I could stand that. But I'm sure, even though you were driven, even though you knew you had a goal, if you needed to stay at it, I'm guessing there was at least a couple of times during that stretch where you would want to, as one of my cousins used to say, just want to go sit in the closet and put your face in your hands for a little bit and go, oh my God, what have I done? What have I just one of those moments, and you come out of it, but just one of those moments where it's just you you may not even, Carolina may not even know you had that moment because you didn't want her to see that. But it was like that moment where you were just going, is this the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? If you've had that kind of moment, when was it and how did you emerge from it? Because a lot of us do, but a lot of people don't know how to crawl back out of it and get back into the fight.
You know what? I'm gonna be honest and transparent. Like I'm not timid about being vulnerable, but I haven't had that many of those moments. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because it's not that I haven't had them, I have, but I move past them very quickly.
Okay.
So you might feel like that. It's failure, right? So I always tell failure, you might feel about that like sense of helplessness, like what should I do? And I wipe out, oh man, screw. Just pass that very quickly. Like 1-2 days, move on. Because what I see and the failure is gonna happen, right? So we won't talk about this. But what I see most people is that they have something good going on, it goes down, it goes south, it doesn't work anymore, and they get stuck to it for years. Like I've known people that keep talking about something good that happened to them 10 years ago. It's like, why are you still talking about this? Just move on from it. So yes, I remember when we have to shut down our business in Venezuela once again. I mean, actually, I have a beautiful house here in Pancras. I was building the house. I was in the middle of construction when everything goes south. I bought my land. It took time. I was in the middle of construction. Everything went south. Everything went south. And Carolina and I said, well, you know what? If we have to sell the house, so be it. We'll go back to the townhouse. It's not gonna make us less or more happy. I mean, it's not the house. It's what's inside the house. And I didn't lose sleep over it. I remember when I had to start letting people go slowly in our work quarters, when we had to start shutting down our main business. I remember one person told me, wow, you still dress up and we have your jacket, and what for? There's nobody here. It's like, well, I don't know, I have to work. You have to move forward. And so I think we don't get stuck in failures. I mean, I can tell you tens of things, like, big things that in the bad way has happened to us in the last 15, 20 years. And we didn't get stuck by it. We just like, okay, whatever. We keep moving. But if you get stuck in that feeling, in that, if you feel pity about yourself, okay, feel pity about yourself for one day. Next day, move on, because that's not going to solve anything, right? And so yeah, I felt that, but I moved past through those moments very quickly.
So it's not that you haven't experienced them, but you didn't live, as some people say, wallow in them. You gave yourself whatever moment you needed to give it, and then it was on to the next thing.
Exactly.
Okay, great.
So Ray, what's one habit that you could share with our listeners that you do every single solitary day of your life? And if they did this one habit, you feel like it could change their life today, what would that be?
Well, I kind of talk about this. One habit is have good habits, right? And you have to have good habits. You have to wake up every day, consistently, and do what you do with a structure. So for me, I have a great structure of my day, like I mentioned before, and I'm not super rigid. Like, once again, I mean, I don't know. I remember a couple of weeks ago. So my dad's wife's birthday was coming in, and that told me on Friday and said, you know what, let's move a few things. That's it. We enjoyed a Monday, and I didn't work that Monday. So I'm not rigid, but most days, 80% of your days, you have to be in automatic. And that's what I say. Just be in automatic. Don't think about it. Just wake up every day. If you have to do your calls, do your calls. If you have to do the hard things that you have to do on those days, don't overthink it. Just do it. Just pass through the things that you don't like, because that's the other thing. People start procrastinating the things that you don't like to do. And sometimes you have to do for your business. So don't procrastinate your things, but you have to be in automatic. And that once again, that helped me with my business. That helped me with my fitness. That helped me with my relationships. So you have a structure there, because the biggest thing that happens with people is they have so many distractions and time wasters, and that's what kills your productivity. So you're just wasting your time. Sometimes we think we're busy. Remember I mentioned before, you're busy, you're not productive. So if you're busy and not being productive, it's because you're going through so many time wasters. Now, the main habit is, for me, it's like in people who is around me, they know this. have good habits, be productive every day, and have a structure of your day. And that will allow you, but you have to do this for years. It's not going to change overnight. Like, people, okay, I'm going to change this. A month later, I don't see results. Has to be year in, year out, year in, year out. There is no way that if you do that, and once again, I mean, there are so many other topics. Like if you're doing a business, it's not working out, you have to change strategies and all that. But just be consistent day in, day out, day in, day out on your product and what you know are productive activities, even though they are the ones that you don't like. I mean, there are days that I see my schedule is like, oh, I have to do these things today. Okay, let's move on. And there are cool days like today, like doing this podcast and we talk. And I had to do a live earlier today, actually. That and I had the kind of a conversation style thing. And this morning we did a meet and greet with our new 60 employees that we do an introduction to the company. And there are days like, oh man, I have my meeting with my lawyers all afternoon. It's not going to be a fun day. You have to do it, right?
So one of the questions that we really have fun with here is I call it the time machine question. So you're 39 now. So you've seen a lot, you've accomplished a lot, you've lived a lot. So let's say we have an opportunity to take you back in time to talk to 10-year-old Ray. With everything you've learned right now, you get a chance to go back to Venezuela, and there's 10-year-old Ray there. What would you tell him most simply that you think he should know about his future in terms of either how he should conduct himself or how he should dream or something? You can talk to 10-year-old Ray and give him a head start. What would it be? What would you say to him?
Take more chances, even though I've taken many chances, like even moving here, being the first person in my family with Carolina to move here, even though I've tried many different businesses. There are things that I know back, 10, 15 years ago, even ideas in my head of things I'm going to try that I kind of overthought about it. And I said, I wonder what would happen if I would have tried this. And you know what? If I would try that, the worst thing that would have happened is this and that. So there are a few things that I didn't try that I would tell you know what? Try more things, especially when you're in your 20s. Try more things because what's the worst that could happen? Once again, even though I've been very successful and blessed, I would have liked to try a few things that I would have wondered how it would have been.
Awesome. Take more chances.
Love it, Ray. So let me ask you this. If you could be a part of history due to your success, what would you want to be known for?
I think I want to be known for, that's a good question. Oh, that's a deep question.
Got him.
Yeah, of course I want to create a legacy. I mean, we all want to create legacies and impact, but I want to be known for the guy that unifies people. And one of the things that I do a lot and get to do a lot is we have in the office, we have a multicultural team, right? And we have teams with different backgrounds. And in my family, we work very close as a family, but we're all different. And if I go to the field now, I have people from different countries, and now I have people from different cultures even in the United States. So how can we bring everybody together, right? Even though to understand that even though we have different beliefs sometimes and different backgrounds, we all want the same. We have the same principles. So if I can achieve that more and more, and I know it's never going to be perfect, I want to know, like, wow, Ray was always able to bring everybody together to achieve a common goal.
Love that. Great answer.
Yeah.
Great answer.
So I got to pin one more question. It's not going to be that deep, probably. I'm so happy to hear you say that's a deep question, because normally we get that response much earlier in the podcast, but you have a very clear way of seeing your life that is quite inspiring, quite frankly. MONAT Gratitude. One of the initiatives that you put into place, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say you didn't do it just as a publicity stunt. I'm going to say that you did it because there's something about that giving back that is important to you as an individual and is important to the company too. Um, so it's not a line on an accounting spreadsheet or, just a deduction. What does it mean for you to create something like Monet Gratitude, and how have you felt about what it's accomplished so far?
Well, as you said, it wasn't just, it's something we believed, and we also had that in our other company in Venezuela, and we practice this as a family. I mean, we have most of our friends, and some of the relatives that we have back in Venezuela, they're having a very, very hard time, and we feel for that. So either my father individually, my siblings, I do it. I have a list of people that is not in Monet, that we do that personally. It's not tax deductible, it's nothing. We just do that from our bank account. We send money to, there's a list of tens of people actually, that we give money on a monthly basis just for them to be able to eat. And that's something we believe in. So we also believe that, we believe on that, so we created that in Monet. And we also believe, and everybody should believe this, and you hear it all the time, but man, it works. If you give, you're gonna receive. If you really have a heart of gratitude, somehow things work out for you. It's crazy. I'm telling you. I mean, I don't see it just with myself. I see it with people I know. I mean, people who have a really heart of gratitude, and it will come back to you somehow. And maybe it won't come back to you by making you more wealthier. It will come back to you maybe by having, I don't know, help or something. And not that you do it for that,
Right.
but it works. I mean, so having a heart of gratitude, then once you get used to that and you enjoy so much, you just keep doing it, because now you notice that. And this also, I talk about this all the time. So I started doing well when I was 28, 29, kind of wasted money, I have to say. About expensive watches and about this and about that. It's like, saw my credit card statement for 2 years and I said, no, we're spending all this money. Like, the hamburger theory, like the first hamburger is good, but the third hamburger is not, it's okay. Right. So it's like, why do I want to buy another and having buy an expensive watch, for example, in, I don't know, maybe 10 years? Because at some point I said, Karina, you think that if you spend $25 in this watch, right? Or $30,000 in this watch, how much people can we actually help with the $30,000? I mean, think about this. It's crazy, especially in Latin America, right? Even here, like the stuff that we have been able to do when you study Monet with small budgets. We have a small budget because we're very, very big. And Lou, my sister, was great finding ways here in the US to create impacts. I remember we were taking toys to the Salvation Army to kids that were in shelters, and we spent like $5,000, and we were able to take all these toys, and they were super happy about this, and so about it. So it's like what I was telling you, what's meaning with this is that at some point you find that buying something extra for yourself, and I put a big ticket item, but it could be even $1,000, $500, is not going to be so gratifying like creating an impact on somebody else's. And that's, I think, what the culture that we created in Monet. And we started, like I said, with a very small budget and grown now. But the most impactful thing that we've created is that now it's like leadership, right? You cascade leadership. So we started doing this, and I have cascaded our culture, and now we have an army of thousands of market partners. I mean, we have 200,000 market partners. We have thousands of market partners actually, and actively doing gratitude efforts and giving back to the community. And now it's like, once again, our responsibility is like, okay, so we're leading the pack. So we need to keep doing it, because what we do multiplies. And that's one of the most amazing things blessing that we've had in Monet. It's like, cannot believe how generous the people around us are. And humbly, I have to say that when I tell them how generous you are, it's like, oh, it's the culture of the company. You guys taught us to do that, and now we're doing it. Now we feel good. So it's about being a force of good. So yeah, gratitude is a big thing that we live in. I mean, a lot of companies have foundations and give back and give money, but this is something in Monet that we live on everything we do. So it's been great.
My wife absolutely loves that about the company, and she's mimicked and doing the same thing with SED bonus that she got. So she was so excited about that, and when she made SED, she started crying because she just thought about all the kids in Colombia. So we love that about the company. So I'm going to ask three quick questions before we close up because I know you're really busy and got a lot to do. But I got three really quick questions with quick answers. So, what's your most gifted or recommended books? You can give me 1 to 3. Like, what are your favorite books you've read, or one you would gift, or you would recommend our listeners
Right.
to listen to?
So mindset is number one thing. We all know that. Like skills are not gonna make you rich. Skills are not gonna make you successful. Skills are important, and by all means. I mean, I'm looking to get new skills all the time. It's like going to college. People say, "Oh, don't go to college." It's like, okay, well, hold on a minute. College is not gonna make you rich, but it's gonna give you a toolbox. So please, by all means, go to college. Get skills. It's important. But what's really gonna make a difference is mindset. So anything you can do, and mindset is so hard to change. I mean, because our friends try to change their mindset in many different aspects. It's hard. It's hard because they say that is a part of your brain that's hard to change. But I think the first thing you have to create is awareness of the things that you need to improve. So mindset books like The Magic of Thinking Big. That's an amazing book. I mean, I've read through that book. It's like, wow, this is all the right stuff, and it's in a simple language. Is that there is a simple book that goes with my habits, and what I strongly believe works is the compound effect. So the compound effect is great because it tells you how those little activities, I remember I was talking about every day, those little activities that you do every day, maybe in a year, like if person A, person B do the same things, small things every day, in a month, it's going to be like, oh, they're the same. In 6 months, they're the same. In a year, they're the same. In 5 years, they're going to be very different. Right? Very different. If you have a donut every day, in a year, everybody's going to do the same. How is the person that's having the donuts after 5 years, right? That little thing every day is the same thing with what you put in your brain. So I think the compound effect, the magic of thinking big, and from the business book, which is is a Bible for me, is Good to Great. Good to Great is it's the perfect business book because it actually is not about James Collins talking about what he thinks. He actually scientifically analyzed what makes some companies successful and what makes other companies not to be that successful in the long term. And what are those common things, right? So Good to Great is a Bible that I have for business.
All 3 books we read in the book club. So
That's exactly right.
We just read those probably in the last 4 months. I think in that order, actually. I think it was Compound Effect, Magic of Thinking Big, and Good to Great. So all great recommendations. Thank you. Smart guy, man. 2 more questions. Who have you learned from or followed closely in the past year? It could be on social media, it could be on YouTube, TED Talk. But who are you following right now and learning from? And besides your very intelligent father, but outside of that, who are you following that other people could follow that they can learn?
There is this guy. Oh man, I forgot his last name, but he has a book, amazing book too. I don't know if you read it, Principles.
Yes, Ray Urdaneta.
Yes,
Ray.
he has an amazing book. If you follow his Instagram account, he has amazing quotes, and they make so much sense, so much sense. And there is this other guy that's not too famous, but this guy, I don't know if you saw the Michael Jordan documentary, The Last Dance.
Yep.
He was in that documentary. His book is Relentless.
Relentless. Yep.
Once again, it's like Principles and Relentless. They have this like very specific quotes that is like, yes, right on. Yes, that's great. So I like those 2 guys.
All right, and to end, it's your last day on Earth. I know you don't want to think about that, but it's your last day on Earth, and you can leave 3 lessons, 3 words with people that they should represent in their life. What are those 3 words that you could put on a billboard that you would be remembered for?
You can have it all. Mention that. Be fearless and have discipline. It's more than 3 words, but
No, it's good.
kind of 3 concepts.
It's good.
Yes.
I took a lot of notes, Ray, and I Instagram messaged you last night. I told you I was really excited about this, and this went way better than I expected. Just all the information, all the knowledge that you gave, I really appreciate your perspective. I appreciate your leadership, and I appreciate your candor. Thank you for being real and authentic and giving us all of you today. And again, I know you're running 2 big, huge, massive businesses, and the fact that you took time out to help us help other people just shows who you really are. So I'm going to recap this really, really quick and let you get on your way. So, and I do these quick. Sometimes I can't read them. So if I can, I'm going to try. And if not, I'll get them in the book. So you okay with us putting you in the book and quoting you for all of these amazing things that you said?
Absolutely. Anything that can help.
All right.
Make some good impact.
So really some cool stuff here. Just work really hard, which you talked about through your story, like your whole entire life. Being naive is not a bad thing. I love that. Never heard that one before. Take risks, take chances. We've heard that several times throughout the podcast. Don't overthink things. Don't look for perfection. You won't get it ever. Always reinvent yourself. Time is good. Always set money aside because there always will be bad times. Such great knowledge. Best days are productive days. Constant and never-ending improvement. Have a why, and it can't be money. Focus on people. Don't lose focus, because right when you lose focus is when you're close to the finish line. Have no fear. Think big. Always figure out how much your time is worth and make sure you're doing the right thing. Spend time on things you add value to. Focus on your strengths, not your weaknesses. You can have it all. You have to be happy. Go to sleep with no grudges. Have balance. You can have it all if you're organized. And you can have 360 success with family, friends, work, and self-fulfillment. Do everything with structure as the one habit. If you did that today, it would change your life. Time wasters will kill your day, your week, and month. You can have it all. Be fearless. Have discipline is what you want on a billboard. The 3 recommended books is Magic of Thinking Big, Compound Effect, and Good to Great. The people that you follow right now currently is Ray Dalio and Tim Grover. And if you could be known for one thing in history, it would be that you unified people.
That's awesome.
I think those, my friends, are some great takeaways that a lot of people could learn and implement in their own life. And thank you so much for coming on. We're honored to have you on here, Ray. I was just thinking, listening to you, I was thinking, 10 years from now, I'm going to look back at this podcast and be like, yeah, I interviewed that guy before he was $1 billion.
Or 2 based on his
Thank you.
dad.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And now he's $100 billion. So I appreciate being listening to your journey, being a part of the journey, being on the journey, and I can't wait to spend more time with you at all the events, because my wife, his number one goal is to be number one in the company.
And she will be.
Here. So we appreciate the opportunity and we appreciate your time.
Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you. I
Ray.
really enjoy the conversation. I have to admit, I do a lot of lives, but I really enjoy your feedback, your perspective. You kind of encapsulated the things I said. It was great. Actually, it's good. Sometimes you have your head in so many things the day to day. It's great to have this kind of conversations. Make you reflect on many things, right? So thank you for the invitation, guys.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Have a great day, man. Thank
All
you.
right.